condition that occurs when there is reduction in the mass of the muscles or the muscle tissues, resulting in a drastic reduction in the bulkiness of the muscle. This condition is associated with so many conditions, which one of them is stroke. And so I'm going to be talking about the muscle atrophy in stroke and how we can prevent this muscle atrophy. Most especially, physiotherapists might have taken this condition lightly, yet by the end of this video you are going to note that this muscle atrophy can cause vicious cycle that can create a lot of challenges and can make your management of stroke very complex. So you need to know about muscle atrophy and how come it even comes when people have stroke. Before I come to that, I would like you to subscribe to this particular channel using the subscribe button down below, and don't also forget to smash the notification bell so that anytime I upload video, you'll be the first person to get notified. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. I will be back with more. Welcome back. Muscle atrophy occurs when the muscle reduces its bulkiness, and it can either be one of three reasons. The first one is prolonged inactivity or prolonged immobilization. The second one is malnutrition, and the third one is learned disuse. I'm going to be explaining all these three terms so that you can get me well and focus on muscle atrophy anytime you are dealing with stroke patients as a therapist. So now let me break down the terms I mentioned. That is prolonged inactivity, learned disuse, and malnutrition. So I'll first start with the malnutrition. Stroke causes dysphagia. Dysphagia has to do with you having problems with swallowing and chewing. This is mainly because of weakness of the chewing and swallowing muscles. When stroke occurs, a lot of muscles are likely to lose their strength because of the area where the lesion on the brain can occur. And so many stroke patients may have malnutrition because they don't have that urge to eat something or to take in food, you see. So they lose a lot of nutrients that can be sourced from food and all other things. Even drinking, you see, drinking starves to get a lot of nutrients in your body become problematic, and so they end up being malnourished and they end up growing thinner and thinner. When that happens, the muscles are not able to get that nutrient that they need to function well, and so they begin to also lose or depreciate, you see, thereby going to cause muscle atrophy. And so what you need to do about this instance is to refer the patient, although there are certain things you can do to also help to build strength in the swallowing and the chewing muscles, but the best specialist to refer to is a speech therapist who would take the patient through certain things to help them with their speech, and by so doing it will train the chewing and the swallowing muscles, and the patient can get back consuming or eating continuously to get a lot of nutrient from the food. Now, with the prolonged inactivity means you are not able to do anything. You are just lying down helplessly, and this, you know, can be associated with stroke because of the weakness that the condition causes. So when stroke occurs, you are likely to having one side of the body being weak, whether right or left, you see. And so when that happens, you are not able to use your muscles that much, and that is where you are going to have your muscle cells depreciating, thereby causing drastic reduction in the bulkiness of the muscle. That is atrophy, you see. And then the learned disuse has to do with when the stroke occurs, it also creates disconnection between one side of the body that is affected from the higher centers, which is the brain. And so the patient is more glued to using the unaffected side the more, thereby losing sense in the affected part, and so the affected part becomes down. What are some of the things we can do to help prevent muscle atrophy? Because now you know that a stroke patient is likely going to have muscle atrophy if certain things are not done, and these are the things I'm going to tell you about. The first thing you have to be doing is that the moment the patient is hospitalized, where confirmation is being done, the patient is going to be kept in the facility for so long, you need to start passive mobilization as a therapist as early as possible, because the patient is not able to move actively. And so what you have to do to keep the muscles intact is to start passive mobilization to stimulate the muscle cells to start functioning. Do not also forget about incorporating some active exercises the patient can be doing. You might think the patient has not developed any strength enough to be engaged in some active exercises, yet there are basic ones the patient can be performing, which can also help prevent muscle atrophy. Remember that it is not only stroke that can cause muscle atrophy. There are other numerous conditions involving spinal cord injury, traumatic brain injury, multiple sclerosis, Guillain-Barré syndrome, and even fractures can all cause the patient to be immobilized for so long and can also result to muscle atrophy. So therefore, we have to also make sure we start some of these things early when we are managing these conditions so that we can prevent muscle atrophy. Muscle atrophy is likely to occur in the legs first and then later extend to some other areas. But when we are able to incorporate some of these things, we can prevent muscle atrophy.